Hey gang, it's me, Elliot. I figured you could use a little refresher course to get you up to speed on everything that's happened with me and my giant pal Boo. It's really quite simple. So I first met Boo when I was strapped to the hood of the crazy hunter Shaw's car. It looked like I was a goner, but Boo saved the day, and my hide. It turns out Boo didn't live in the forest like I did. He had a pretty cushy setup, living with his friend Beth and performing for tourists. But that's no way for a bear to live, so I decided to help him out. I lured him out of his cozy home, and we managed to get in a wee little bit of trouble at Punimart. Well, that didn't go over too well with Gordy. And he forced Beth to release Boog into the wild, which if you ask me was great. So now my new pal Boog and I were free to wander the woods together and become the bestest friends. He even got to meet all the wilds in the forest. McSquizzy,
That's me.
Buddy, Riley, the bunnies, Rosie and Maria, Serge and Denny, the stunning Giselle, stupid Ian, smelly jerk. Meanwhile, Mr. Weenie was living the good life with his owners Bob and Bobby. But back to Boog and me. We were just minding our business in the forest when suddenly Shaw showed up and tried to kill us.
No!
Thankfully, we all survived, but the wilds were none too pleased with being in the hunting grounds during open season.
We're sitting ducks out there!
Boog was especially mad. He even rallied the troops and convinced us to put up a fight against those hunters.
Yeah!
Mr. Weenie even decided to join us. So we launched our attack and drove those yahoos right out of the forest. We showed them we were not to be messed with. We were about to live happily ever after when Beth showed up to rescue Boog.
Come on, let's go home.
We thought for sure he'd leave us, but I think we grew on him because he decided to stay in the forest with us to have more adventures. Speaking of more adventures, everything seemed to be back to normal.
Have you seen my new horns?
I even grew back my majestic antlers until an unfortunate accident caused me to return to being a unicorn. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Mr. Weenie was enjoying his freedom in the forest until Bobby and Bob were missing him terribly and managed to entrap him with a delicious trail of irresistible crackers.
No!
Mr. Weenie was captured by that hairless creature, Bobby.
Waiting!
So we hatched a plan to rescue our pal.
Who's with me?
I am feeling it in Bajin Swan. Let's quit bumping the gums and get him a right chipping.
Mr. Weenie was trapped in a horrible fate. We almost rescued him, but alas, his T-Rex were his demise, and he was kidnapped again.
We're partners, right?
Boog and Giselle seemed to be teaming up without me, so I decided to go find Mr. Weenie on my own.
Bob, do you have the Invisible Pet Fortress electric shock collar?
Little did he know, Mr. Weenie was about to meet some even more serious foes than his human captors.
It's about animals are my friends.
Your friend? Fifi and the other pets were not a fan of the wild and set out to prove that Mr. Weenie was a domesticated pet.
Fetch!
Thankfully, Buddy came to the rescue and freed Weenie.
Buddy, come on!
Fifi was enraged and declared war on the wilds.
This is war!
Giselle and McSquizzy disguised themselves as dogs to try to free Mr. Weenie from the terrible pet paradiso. Unfortunately, the pets weren't fooled and they were captured. So it was up to me to rescue Milady and McSquizzy from the grips of Fifi and her minions. I've got to say, I looked pretty good in a dress. I almost saved them, but that little evil cotton ball foiled my plan. Thankfully, Boo came to the rescue. We all managed to escape from that horrible pet paradiso. Once we were out of harm's way and back in the safety of our beloved forest, Giselle and I were free to finally tie the knot and live happily ever after.
I love you.
That is until... Boog was really excited to have a guy's trip with me, but alas, the missus had other plans in mind, so Boog had to go with Dinkelman and the bunnies instead. I guess he was pretty disappointed in his friends because he decided to run away and stumbled upon a circus in the woods. It turned out that Boog had a doppelganger at the circus named Doug, and they decided to swap places for a bit to see how the other bear lived.
Oh yeah, this could work.
Little did Boog know, Doug had more permanent plans in mind. Boog was having fun at the circus, but he started to miss his old life with his pals in the forest. He tried to convince Ursa that he wasn't Doug, but she didn't believe him until she saw what a terrible circus performer he was, and it all made sense. Meanwhile, Doug tried to pass himself off as Boog.
Boog, fuck everybody!
We suspected something wasn't right. He was a lot bossier than our pal Boog, and we all figured out that this Boog was an imposter. So we had to go rescue our real pal Boog. So we set off for the circus and ran into Mr. Weenie and the other pets, who were also there to save him. Because everybody loves Boog. It turns out we weren't half as bad as circus performers. Boog! So we saved Boog from the circus. Everything was back to normal and just as it should be. Or was it? Our latest adventure involves the terrifying tales of the wailing Wampus werewolf. But that's a story for another time. Open season is back on!